Hi everyone, welcome to our fabric making tutorial. I hope we're live right now. It's our very first live Facebook, so we're just kind of trying this out. My name's Lisa Bunnage, and I'm doing this with Irina, who's on the phone here. If it wasn't for what's going on, she'd be with me. So we're just going to give people a little bit of time to connect up, so I'm not going to get right into it yet. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about us and why we're doing this. Irina owns FabCycle. She takes textile waste, which is called dead stock, from the fashion industry that they're not using. So she takes that and she sells it or gives some away or whatever. It's a wonderful thing. She has, her store is in Chinatown. I think she's still selling online right now. And we also run framework together, and that is we teach the community, they're called Fix-Its, and we teach the community how to repair, upcycle, mend their clothes so that they don't end up in landfill. And Irina has been doing that for about 5 years. I think I came on board about 3 years ago. And as I said, that's Irina McKenzie, and my name's Lisa Bunnage, and I own a company called Bratbusters Parenting, and I'm a parenting coach. That's my business. So the reason that we're doing this workshop is because, well, a couple of reasons. I like wearing a face mask around town. It just makes me feel better. And also, we know that a whole bunch of hospitals and a whole bunch of other places are asking sewers to make fabric masks now. So they're not medically sound, but they're considered better than nothing. Now, what I want to stress is we're going to be sewing these on demand. So when people start to ask for them, we don't want to start sewing those. They change in design. So you may make a whole bunch of masks that really they've completely changed anyway. So also, we're hoping that they don't run out of masks, so then we never even have to make them. So we've got more people coming on now, so I don't want to get away. As I said, only sew on demand. Wait until there is a demand before you start sewing these. So we're just kind of giving you a head start so you're really ready to go once this happens, right? Also, when it comes to donating these masks, if we do get asked for them, you're going to have to sort of do your own homework. We've got some links on the instructions, and to tell you where to go to check out. There will be places where you can deposit them. There might be pickups. We don't know. That's not our lane. We're just trying to figure this out like you are. So I've got quite a few people tuned in now, so I might just sort of get going. I'm going to show you a couple things that have happened. By the way, the fabric that you should be using is, I call it bed sheeting fabric. So it's really thin cotton. It's quite a tight weave. I have another one here, which is it's still cotton, but it's a bit of a bigger weave. We don't really want that. See, it stretches a bit more, and you can see through it easier. So you want, it's called quilting cotton or bed sheeting, and it's just about perfect for these masks as far as we know now. Also, I decided, I'm going to show you the design first. This is the standard design of a mask. Okay, it's pretty straightforward, but I'll show you what's wrong with it. A few things is it's okay, and it's good at the sides, but under here you can see it's not really cupping underneath there, and down here you can see there's a lot of air getting in. Also, it's not that comfortable. I find I want to keep touching my face to adjust it, and also when I look down, this kind of blocks my view. So I'll show you the mask that I've decided I like wearing, and the one that I'm going with, and a lot of hospitals like this too, evidently, the ones that are asking for it in other places. The thing with this mask that is really important to hospitals, not so much if you're making it for yourself, is that it has an opening. So you can put in a filter, like hospitals say that they'll use their own HEPA filter fabric. I don't know, but you can put that in there, then take it out and wash this and reuse it. Okay, this one I call the face hugger, and you'll see why in a minute. It really does hug my face. It looks a little bit scary. I know when I walk down the street, people really stay away from me, which is probably another good reason to wear it. So the sides are really, actually I'm having a hard time breathing with this one. I think I put too many filters in it. Like you can see, it's really suction cupped onto my face. Now, what makes this one good is it scoops around, and you push down on the wire that I've inserted in here. So you just pinch your nose. And literally, like, I don't know if you can see, but like it really is hugging my face. Under here, it's cupping my face. I've even added some adjustments in here to make it tighter around the ear. So around here, I can see perfectly when I look down because it's not sort of sticking out. So this is the design that I'm going to be making today. showing you that. The supplies that you need, there will be a pattern included in the download, whatever you've got there. And this is one piece, and you can use it for both the front and the back. The front is a little bit longer than the back. You can see the back is shorter. That provides us with that insert area there. So with this pattern, you cut two, and what you do is if you're not a sewer, it's right side to right side. You put that fabric together and cut it out like that, okay? So you end up with, they're called mirror images. You haven't got two facing the same way. And then you cut out two of another fabric. So two with the shorter. So that turns it into the back. So that's the front pattern and that's the back pattern. Okay, so we're going to get right into this. We've got quite a few people online, which is great. I've actually cut out a few of these, so in case I mess one up, I've got backup. So we're going to do the front. We're going to have right sides together and we're going to sew just along that curve, which is the center seam. And we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You'll see in a second. Okay, and I'm going to have to keep cutting my threads because when I was doing this before, it ended up looking like a bunch of spaghetti, so I'm going to have to cut my threads as I go. So what I've done is I've just sewn the top, that's the actual center seam, so it's the front of the mask, and I've just sewn that curve. Okay, it's about a 1/4 inch in. Now this is the inside of the mask, the shorter one. We're going to do the same thing. Sew on that curve. This is my very first sewing tutorial, and I've watched millions of them. Boy, do I have a lot of respect for those people. This is hard, getting all the shot, and I don't have any close-ups, obviously. Okay, the same thing. This is the inside of the mask. Okay, we've done that. Now what we want to do is we want to have that seam that we've just done. So this is the wrong side. We're going to take those ends. So I would just call these the edges, and they're the short little edges. We're going to want to make a little hem on those. So what we're going to do is we're facing the wrong side that we just sewed. We're just going to turn, like make a little hem. Turn it down by a 1/4 inch and sew that down. It'll all make sense. So we've got 4 of those to do because we're going to do those on the front and the back. So that's one. Bear with me. It's a gorgeous day today. If you're in Vancouver, it's nice and sunny. I was out there earlier with my mask on, scaring children, and dogs were running. Okay, there's the inside. I'm going to do that same to the front of the mask, which is the longer one. See, we've sewn that together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up, and when you're making a hem, you want the wrong sides kissing each other, so wrong sides together. You don't do it the other way, right side, see? So just a little tip. This isn't really a sewing tutorial, it's just how to put the mask together. Okay. I love upcycling. That's always been my thing. I was the Julie Andrews of sewing. I used to turn curtains into clothes. My poor kids running around the streets with curtains on. But I took the rod out. Did anyone see that Carol Burnett show when she did that and left the rod in? Anyway, okay, there we go. That's the first stage of all this. So we've sewn the center together and we've hemmed each side. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to clip the threads first. As I said, it can be really unsightly if you don't do that. Too much going on. By the way, if you're a sewer and you think that you need to upgrade machines and you don't sew a lot, really, I suggest when people are first buying a sewing machine, this is what I call a base level. I have a bigger one, but this is base level. It's all you really need. Don't invest a lot of money in a machine unless you're do a lot of sewing, and then you know exactly what you need. Because by the time I got my big one, I've been sewing for, well, now 55, 56 years, which is amazing because I'm only 30. But anyway, okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to join the front and the back pieces together. And you're going to do that right at the top here. And we're going to start sewing from the top down and then from the top again the other way. It's just easier to keep the middle section lined up. So just put those together. You put the edges of one way and the edges of the other way, A lot of quilters do this with quilting. And then you sort of rub and kiss those seams together. It sort of holds them there. So we're going to start right in the center and go to one side. 1/4 inch seam, they're all 1/4 inch seams. And don't worry about it, just doesn't matter if it's exactly 1/4. This isn't about perfection, that's for sure. Okay, that's one side. Got a cutter on that machine. Most machines have that little cutter there. Oh, cut some more thread. The reason I keep talking about cutting thread is I hate doing it. My other machine does it automatically. I should have like a person here cutting for me. I think like rich people do that. They have cutters. But actually, I don't think Kim Kardashian's making her own clothes anyway. But okay, so we start from the middle. And again, we're going to go to the other side, 1/4 inch. Okay, do not worry about how perfect this is. By the way, your first one, my first one, I ended up throwing away. It was so bad. So you really want to test these out. And I'm going to show you what I've done here now. The hardest part's coming up. Okay, so what I've done is that there's the, okay, I'm going to show you like we wear it, but it's inside out. There's the front. You see how it's shorter than, there's, pardon me, this is the inside, the back, and that's the front. Okay, we've sewn them together only at the top. Here comes the hard part. You take your wire. Now, they'll have like exactly all the dimensions of everything in the pattern. I've got 4 inches of wire here. This is probably going to be the hardest thing to find too. We want to sew this on here 3 inches. So we want to leave each end open. Okay, so we only start sewing this on with a zigzag stitch. We start at 1/2 inch. We're going to sew it across the top, and we go to the other 1/2 inch because we're going to want to curl the ends in to stop it from moving. This, I was doing a little practice tutorial with my daughter, and I said, do not let the needle hit the wire. Of course, clonk, it hit the wire right away. But now this is a bit tricky, okay? Some people use tape. I don't like to use tape, but might make it a little bit easier. So what I'm doing is I'm laying it on there on the top section. I'm not going into this. I'm just laying it on top, and I'm zigzagging along this section, using up that hem, that seam there. Okay? Now I'm going to put my machine on zigzag. I'm going to make it nice and wide. You want a nice wide zigzag. And I suggest when you first start doing this, remember we're starting a 1/2 inch along the wire, and the wire is placed right in the center. Use the hand crank your machine just to test to make sure it does go around the wire. Now let's hope I don't put the needle into the wire again. Okay, so you just zigzag back and forth. That was close. Okay, so I'm just going to go again to a 1/2 inch. I don't know why, but I just don't like doing this wire part. I find it annoying. I guess I'm not used to sewing with wires or something. But got to be done because that's what makes it hug around the nose, right? Okay, so what I've done is, you see I've zigzagged that wire into the seam allowance there, that 1/4 inch, and I've just zigzagged. See, I've gone off a little bit over here, doesn't matter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to curl the ends. I've got my pliers here, or the wire should be thin enough that you can do it by hand because it shouldn't be thick wire. But I'm just going to curl that around, and all that's doing is preventing it from moving. Okay, so I'm curling that around. Can you see that there? So what I've done is it's sort of just stopping it from moving. Okay, now what we're going to do, so what we've done is we've joined the mask at the top, we've put the wire in, we've put the little hem on there just to stop those from unraveling. That's the only reason we've done that, not to make it look pretty. Now we're going to join the bottom. So this is really easy. Again, kiss the seams, put 2 seam allowances one way, and the other, it's kind of hard to see, but, and put the others the other way. It just reduces bulk. Doesn't really matter if you do that or not. And with this one, I don't find you need to start in the middle and do both sides. I just start right at the end. You only have to make it meet where the side seam is. Now, here's what I keep messing up. Remember to put your machine back to straight stitch. This is the first time I've remembered to do that. Usually I start zigzagging and go, oh, shoot. Okay, so straight stitch, we're just sewing the front and the back together at the bottom now. This is under the chin. Okay, cut my threads. I need my thread cutter. Okay, now what I've done here is I have sewn the front and the back together. They've got the wire in. Now all we need to do is turn this right side out. Okay, watch it with that wire. It's going to bend a bit in that, but you can reshape that later. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm turning it right side out. If you're just making this for yourself, I like to iron it to make it look prettier, but it doesn't matter. If you're going to be making these in bulk one day, which like I said, I hope we never do, don't bother ironing it. Okay, here's a little bit tricky. I'm going to have to get close here. What we want to do now, so we've kind of finished the mask, like it's kind of done. We're just going to need to put the elastic in now. And I'm going to be using two 6.5-inch elastics. They're 1/4 inch. This is actually what they keep calling an underwear elastic, but the proper name is lingerie elastic. It's got that little thing on the top. Doesn't matter. I have a giant spool full of it. I was really lucky I had that. Oh, you can see it here. So I'm using that. Anything will do. It can be 1/8 of an inch, can be a little bit thicker, just whatever you've got. By the way, the reason we're making this tunnel and we're not sewing the elastic into it is if the hospitals ask for it, some of them want ties. And you get 45-inch ties that you're going to feed into these tunnels. You don't tie the top. You have that it's like a shoelace. It goes in one side of the mask, just goes around the head, then the other side, and they'll tie it at the back. I guess they're more secure. Okay, this is a little bit harder to explain. We want to get that tunnel going. So you see how we're going to have it on the inside, the short side, and you see how that's bigger? We're going to want to fold that down. And we're going to want it, just make it kiss the other hem, but not like just touching it, but not going over, because we want to leave this open. Does that make sense? I can't hear you, but anyway, hopefully it makes sense. But what we're going to do when we do that, you see how it's kind of rough around the edges? We're just going to fold the edges in. You can use pins or whatever you want to do. Fold the edges in and then put it down, okay? And then sew it across. I'll show you. It'll make sense. Okay. Cut the threads. I'm not going to complain about cutting threads anymore. I know I get on a bit of a loop with stuff like that. Okay. Oh, Irina just said I've got questions. I'm going to have to look over here. Could you use upcycle an old bulk food twist? Absolutely. That's one of the things that people are using. They're using twist ties that they get from the supermarket. Don't go and raid the supermarkets, but I just want to suggest that when you do use those, you use the ones that are coated in plastic. Sometimes you'll get ones that are coated in paper, then you can't wash that, right? Okay, so look, here's what I've done. I folded that over, the edges are in, and it still left that open. I'm just going to do that on the other side. I'll show you when I do it. It's a little bit tricky. I have to sort of put it down to finish, because you have to fold those edges in, see? And then pull it down. I'm glad we're doing this now. I don't look too bad yet, but we're all getting scruffier looking as time goes on. It's been a couple of weeks. I got friends who said they're all going gray and everything. Okay, evidently there's another question. Someone asked if you can use ribbons or binding if you don't have elastic. Absolutely. I just said you could actually use, that would be fantastic. Some people prefer to do that anyway. They don't want them around the ears. So it's 45 inches evidently. It's 38 or 45 inches, somewhere in there. So it's long enough, one long one, not two. And also when you do that, I'll show you in a second because we're going to have these tunnels. Make sure you put double knots on the end so it doesn't go flying through the tunnel in the wash. Or you could even tie the ends together before you put it in the wash. That makes sense? Okay. Now I'm just doing the other tunnel. I guess I'm just watching this because I have tunnel vision. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to clip those threads. And so what I've done now is I've done both those elastic tunnels. See, there's this is inside out, by the way. That's the way you're going to be wearing it. So that's what it looks from that side. And this side I've got the tunnels ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bobbin. You will be using a safety pin. Or unless you have a bobbin, this is a sewing tool. I love this one. I've had lots of them. This is my absolute favorite bobbin in the world. I keep stuff. I've had these scissors since I was 18 years old. So that's what, 41 years I've had these scissors. Do not touch. My kids knew, do not touch. And I've had this bobbin for probably 30 years. It's a good one. If you're going to get one, this is a really good one. So you use your safety pin because you might not have a bobbin. Most people don't. And you just attach it to one end of the elastic. Okay? And what you're going to do is just feed it through. Now because we've sort of turned the fabric over, it might get caught up. in those little seams. It's kind of hard to explain. I'll stick my finger in there to sort of open that up to make this go through easier. Just make it work, it'll work. Okay, now what I've done is I've pulled that through. I'm going to take my bobbin off. And you see I've got the elastic in there now. Okay? Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to put those two together and I'm going to overlap them by a 1/2 inch. You can use whatever you want. You might want to overlap it by 1 inch if this is too big for you. Is that right? Too big or too small? Yeah, too big. Okay, now what we're going to do, so I'm just going to sew the elastic together. I hate hand sewing with a passion, but I found this elastic gets caught up in my machine. I don't like making knots. I just I double over the thread and I sew 3 times in the same spot, and that is my knot because I don't like to knot things. It's just too much work. I find this easier. Okay, so I'm just going to sew up one side of the elastic and then I'm going to sew up the other. Can you see that? Yeah, there we go. I so admire people who do tutorials. I mean, I do a lot of stuff online with my business, but not tutorials where you're actually showing something. It's a lot to consider. You got to make sure that you're being very clear and getting camera angles right. So I hope this is clear. Doing the best I can. If I did it again, I'm sure it would be better. It's like first time is always tricky, right? Okay, so what I've done is I've sewed up one side, then the other, then I'm going to knot it by sewing in the same spot 3 times. What's 1, 2? Oh, hit a tough spot there. And I'm going to clip the thread. Okay, and then I won't bother doing the other one because I've already got one that I've made and I'm going to show you. This is the one I wear around town, okay? So you've done both sides of the elastic now. Here's the one we were just making. And then you do that to the other one. Now, this one is really hard to breathe because if you want to make this at home and want to use filters, I used an iron-on filter, iron-on interfacing, sorry, and I ironed it on the pieces. I think I did it on the inside pieces on the wrong side before I sewed anything together. They really make it hard to breathe. So then I decided I'm going to put it on the outside, which is what this one is, still hard to breathe. So maybe that's a little bit too intense, I don't know. So then I thought, well, I might just maybe do 3 fabrics to make it more, or maybe it's enough just with 2. Do you know when hospitals are using these, they often use them on top of surgical masks with COVID patients just for extra protection. So, and also veterinarians are using them, and I don't know if they just toss them or they wash them, I'm not sure. But anyway, I think that's it. I think I'm done. Irina will text me because she's here with me. And she'll let me know. Is this it, Irina? Do we have any questions that I should be answering? So now would be the time. If you have any questions, if you just want to ask something about sewing even. I mean, you know, I love upcycling. That is my passion. I always call myself a sloppy fast sewer because I just want to get stuff done. I probably could do something really nice too, but my sewing these days seems to be really quick and easy stuff because I do a lot of sewing for charities. So when I do tote bags and drawstring backpacks and that for charities, I'm making 50 to 100 of them. So I'm not going to do anything fancy on those. But if I'm making stuff for little children who are in maybe shelters or something, then I'll spend a lot of time making cute little dresses or whatever, or capes for them. Okay, so it says answer questions. Where are the questions, Irina? Okay, okay. I use floral wire. Perfect. I didn't even think about that. Okay, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much, Janice. Michelle says, may I please have a recording? I'm sure Irina's figuring that out. Fran, great job. Thank you for doing this well explained. Thank you. I was worried about getting my point across. Okay, what type of interfacing did you use? I've got very thin. I think the thinner the better because mine's actually really thick. I don't know the weight of it, but it is iron. Okay, it's iron-on interfacing, so it's got a thin spray of glue. And I think, is that even safe to breathe? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm just trying to figure this out. Like, it'd be a shame if after all this they find out Lisa Bunnage dies of inhaling glue. Like, I don't know. I'm just doing the best I can. So I would suggest, you know, do your own research. I don't want to recommend anything in particular with that because I'm not sure. Yes, PD downloadable. Irina's taking care of all that. Is it okay to use just one layer of interfacing? Melissa says, I don't know because I'm not a doctor. I don't know. This is probably, even then, like, this isn't medically sound, by the way. I've said that a million times, I hope. Also, I just want to show you, on this one, to make it fit me better, I sort of put darts in there, but I did it individually, so I left that open. So I put little darts just to make it that much tighter and more comfortable there. Depends on, like I've got really short, like small ears, so I had to shorten this a little bit. You know, you can Frankenstein this however it suits you, but I don't want to recommend really filters because I don't know. I have heard of hospitals even using toilet seat cover fabric. I have a whole bunch of that. I make patterns out of a whole roll of it. I could actually just put that in there. Actually, that's a really good idea. I might make up some more and just not use the interfacing. I'm not sure about that. And if you have any suggestions, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who know a lot more about this stuff than I do, obviously. So I would love any suggestions and we could pass those on to you. Okay, here we go. Greg Felton, this was great. By the way, how about cheesecloth for the filter? I would say not so much. Cheesecloth is very, it's a very open weave. So cheesecloth is designed to let liquid through. So if it's letting liquid through, it's probably letting a lot of air through, right? Does that make sense? Well, here I said I wasn't going to talk about filters, but that kind of makes sense. It's pretty thin, but then this is pretty thick. So yeah, I don't know. It's, you know, good suggestion. Where can I get this instruction? Down below somewhere. Missed first few minutes. Did you pattern? Yes, there's a pattern attached, and I'll show it to you here so it's a little bit more clear when I show it. It's one piece, it's one pattern piece, and it's two different patterns. So this is the front. When you fold it down, that's the back. So you cut two of these facing each other, and then two of those facing each other. So that's the front, that's the back. Okay. Great tutorial. That's my daughter. Thank you very much, sweetheart. Jenny, is it? Jen. Okay, great tutorial. Need the pattern. It's below, I'm sure. Michelle, thanks so much. Lightheartedness, you're very welcome. Listen, this is a crazy time. I'm going to tell you a funny story. They had a photographer. This was all put in the Vancouver Sun/Province newspaper, right? And they're online. So they wanted to come out and take a picture of me wearing the mask. So I'm stuck in here and I'm in my sunroom. I can see people parked out front. And I'm waiting for the photographer. He says, I'm here. So I looked out and there's a white truck out there. I said, are you in a white truck? And he says, yes. I'm leaning over, waving, hi, hi. And I put on a mask and I'm pointing to the mask and he's just not really, you know, waving or anything. Then about 20 seconds later, another truck, white truck pulls up behind him and it says Vancouver Sun/Province on it. I was waving to the wrong guy. So that was pretty embarrassing. So then I had to go outside to get the photos taken because we did it outside. And that guy was looking at me wearing the mask. He's like, that poor isolated woman. She's really lost it. Anyway, listen, you got to laugh. I mean, it's a really weird time right now. And just be thankful if you and your family are all healthy. And, you know, just be grateful for that and try to make the most of it. It is a weird, weird time. Okay, let me see now. Yes, someone said, Janice said, I've heard that vacuum bags are good for filtering. Yes, the HEPA filter ones. So if you have a vacuum that has HEPA filters, you cut that up and then you make it fit inside the mask. That's evidently the best. That's the one the doctors, when they do these online tutorials, don't know why I keep pointing, when they do these online tutorials, that's what they're recommending is the HEPA filters. Thanks, Janice. Thank you, Joanne. You can make a mask with a pocket inside and line it with allergen furnace filter. That's a good one too. It's nasty taking the filters apart, I can imagine, but you end up with loads of filter. Perfect. That's a good. What about sizes for kids? Yes, you can downsize this for kids. What I suggest you do is you just take the pattern piece and you just lay it on their face and sort of draw what you're going to do. And then you can cut that out. You can copy this first and then just cut up another one. So put it on their faces and draw it. Someone asked me about beards. Well, then you could just make this lower and it would go around the beard. Although right now they're saying you should shave off your beards because it holds all these virus bugs. I don't know. I haven't got my beard yet, but I'm sure, you know, as time goes on, I've got friends who are all going gray and they're not getting their eyebrows done. Like we're a real ragtag crew lately. Okay, so what else here? Let me see. Downloadable pattern, as I said, it's available. Like using it over another mask, so it allows you to reuse the main mask and wash the outer one. Very good idea. So use this as your washable one and keep the real medical one underneath. That's a good idea. It's just extra protection. Not wearing masks, although there was a doctor in South Korea who said one of the reasons they say that, he said masks don't hurt. He said everyone there is wearing them, and they've been really good at holding this virus off. Is they said they're worried about the people hoarding masks. So, and there's no guarantee it's going to protect you anyway, but I feel better wearing one. Okay. use picture wire as well. Picture wire, yes, I've heard of that being used. Twist ties as last resort, put two together. Very good. Yeah, because they're kind of weak, right? So I think that's it. Is that it, Irina? Am I done? She's the boss here. She's the technical person. I'm the one that could talk for hours, so she's got to shut me up. Oh, Irina said don't suggest filters. I don't know why, but probably because we're not qualified to do so. That's what I'm suggesting. Okay, also, what workshops would you like to see next? I do a whole bunch of stuff with fabric. I'm a chronic upcycler. Like I look at a piece of fabric, I'm like, what can I do? I should show you my goodie bag, but that's in the other room and I'll get my dogs barking. But I do a whole bunch of upcycling. So if you're really going nuts at home, let's say you have a whole bunch of clothes in your cupboard that you just can't stand, and you do have a sewing machine, or even by hand, some people can do this stuff. I could show you how to turn that into other stuff. Or if you have like a dress you don't like, you want it to turn it into a skirt, I can do tutorials for you. I love doing this. It's a bit hard setting up and everything. I'm not, because I want to do a really good job, and I'm not sure that this is the best tutorial that, you know, if I had a camera person here, they could be close up, but I could do my best. I think that's it. Irina, how are we doing? I'm just looking at myself. I probably should have looked in the mirror before I did this, but who cares? This is how I look right now. It's terrible. Mind you, I gotta be honest, I don't usually look much better. I don't wear makeup or anything. Okay, so if you want other workshops, let us know. Some of the things that I like to teach is how to make slippers, how to mend your clothes, how to darn your clothes, how to readjust your clothes, how to make tote bags. They're really big right now because you can make your own tote bags and then you just chuck them in the wash when you get them home because you got 20 others for backup. That's what I do. I got a ton of tote bags. I think that's it for now. I think I'll just sign off and thank you very, very much for turning up. We had a really nice turnout, and all the best, everyone. I'm thinking of you and everybody. It's just a really rough time, but we'll make it. We're strong. Keep a smile on your face and have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye now.